So, hello and welcome to the last part of the tier list. It took me a while to make this video, but I had stuff going on. So in the last chapter, we covered these tiers, and today we're going to talk about the cream of the creme. We're going to talk about the best Pokemon that you could use before for solo queue. This last part is going to be a testament of how good these Pokemon were before the season ended. And so, we'll start with a Pokemon that I think is a little underrated, especially for solo queue players, and that's going to be Blastoise. Blastoise used to be a very strong pick, in my opinion, especially when it comes down to solo queue, because Blastoise, despite being a defender, could really put a lot of damage. First of all, Blastoise has amazing durability, has great mobility thanks to Rapid Spin, and has great damage thanks to how Rapid Spin and Water Spout interact. Not to mention that its Unite move, despite being nerfed several times, is still probably one of the best Unite moves for team battling, stunning everyone within its range while also allowing your teammates to deal damage. So this Pokemon was a great pick. You could also use a stacking item on it, like, specifically speaking, the Specs item, in order to increase its special attack. Sorry, not the Specs one, the special attack glasses. I don't remember the name of that stacking item, but you could use it. And this Pokemon would perform quite well, in my opinion. And it's not a Pokemon that was particularly hard to learn how to play. This Pokemon would do great in lane, specifically in my opinion in top lane, but bottom lane wouldn't be so bad either. As a jungler, it wouldn't do a bad job actually, because Blastoise scales quite nicely, especially once it gets level 7 and it gets access to Rapid Spin. Blastoise can put in a lot of damage. And speaking of damage, another Pokemon that can deal a lot of damage and is actually an attacker is gonna be Venusaur. So Venusaur has two ways it can be ran, right? So first you have Petal Dance plus Giga Drain, which is my personal favorite build. And in this build, you get a lot of sustain from Giga Drain while dealing AoE damage thanks to Petal Dance. It has great mobility, so it could quickly engage in a battle or run away from it if necessary. Its Unite move is nothing too special, but it can do a lot of damage if landed correctly. And especially this Pokemon paired up with a supporting Pokemon, if you're going duo queue or trio queue, would be able to deal a lot of damage. It's a great laner also. Razor Leaf is great for securing, and so its third basic attack. You could secure a lot of farm with its third basic attack. You can still probably. So in this Pokemon could deal quite a lot of damage. You would get into the 100k damage if used correctly. And for solo queue, this Pokemon can put in a lot of work. You can win entire team fights if you know how to move with this Pokemon. And yeah, overall this Pokemon was great for solo queue. Then, the only support Pokemon that I think deserved to be in this place was going to be Blissy. Despite it being a support Pokemon, Blissy is really a secret MVP in the sense that it could back in the season sustain a lot of other Pokemon that would deal damage. So often this Pokemon, if it stuck with a single carry or a strong Pokemon, they both would perform well. And you don't really need comms for that, since Blissy's only job is to cure them and keep them alive. So if you were playing solo queue and you stayed around a Cinderace or a Charizard or a Greninja, for example, and you kept them alive and they would constantly deal damage, then probably Greninja or Cinderace or those carries could delete an entire squad on their own with your help, given the right support. Not to mention that Bliss's Unite move is still probably one of the most broken Unite moves in the entire game. Not only healing, but also making another ally Pokemon even stronger. A Blissy Unite could change completely the tide of a battle, of a team fight specifically. Sometimes team fights would be won only because of Blissy's Unite move. So Blissy was an amazing pick if you were playing solo queue and you wanted to play something more support oriented. It was always a secret MVP. It was always there healing, always there supporting, always the reason why team fights were won. And there was really no need for comms. You only need to understand how to play a support. Then a Pokemon that was showcased specifically in the World Championships that did quite well, and in my opinion was a little under the radar before Worlds, is Aegislash. Aegislash was, and probably will be still, a strong Pokemon, especially because it deals so much damage. It scales very good once it hits level 5. Even before level 5, at level 4, Shadow Sneak is somewhat good for securing farm, somewhat good for mobility, and doing quite some damage. The only downside to Aegislash is that you have to understand how to play around its shield and blade form. In blade form, you're going to take quite a lot of damage, and if you don't know how to properly keep your white guards while fighting, or how to properly engage in a fight, or walk around the map, you could get hunted down and killed very easily. Its Unite move is probably one of the best secures in the game, if not the second best in my opinion, with the only exception of another Pokemon that we'll talk about later, with the only downside that it's a Unite move. However, it's an excellent executioner, but the downside is that you have to know how to when to use its Unite move, because Aegislash becomes very vulnerable while throwing its Unite move because it switches to blade form and because the animation takes quite a long time. So you have to keep your distance, and this is not a Unite move that you can just randomly throw. You have to know when to throw it, and you have to decide when is the right moment to use it and to engage in a battle, or when to use it to win Zapdos, for example. You can either choose to keep it around and win Zapdos, or you can choose to use it during your team fight, but maybe you'll deal more damage that way and you'll end up winning the fight. But that's a hard decision usually. However, Aegislash, once it's understood, can become a great asset or a great carry for any team. The way Overlord played Aegislash was masterful, and I think we can all learn from Overlord playing Aegislash. So overall, this Pokemon can completely carry a game, can deal massive damage, can secure Zapdos, can secure farm, can bring down entire teams. So yeah, this Pokemon was great and will probably still be great moving forward. Then another Pokemon that's probably not amazing, particularly for 5 stacks, but it was or will be probably still great for solo queue, is going to be Gengar. So Gengar is a Pokemon that I like to call it a noob killer, because it's a Pokemon that if it engages with its combo, which is Sludge Bomb and Hex, then you can easily destroy teams, especially those that are only using attackers. So if you see the opposing team having only Greninja and Cinderace and another attacker like Delphox or I don't know, Gardevoir, then that team becomes pretty much farm food for Gengar. Gengar scales amazingly once it gets level 5. It probably has some of the best early ganks in the, well, not early ganks, but rather level 5 ganks in the entire game, as you can easily kill the opposing team in lane and get a huge advantage at the beginning of or at 850 to be specific. So Gengar is a really strong Pokemon, especially in solo queue where comms are not a thing and where a lot of support Pokemon usually are not there during team fights or comms are non-existent. So other Pokemon cannot get saved by their support Pokemon, which is usually the bane of Gengar. If it gets its combo cancelled, or if it gets stuck due to CC, then this Pokemon will perish quite easily. Also, Dream Eater and Shadow Ball is a very strong combo. It can easily pick off Pokemon one by one and even win some team fights if their Pokemon were worn down beforehand. However, in my opinion, Sludge Bomb Hex is a little bit more consistent and easier to use. You do know you do need to know how to aim Sludge Bomb, because I see a lot of Gengars not understanding how to aim Sludge Bomb or Hex. They will often miss aim Hex specifically and lose their ability to combo and continue their combo, and then they would get kill off very quickly. So Gengar, amazing Pokemon to play with, amazing carry, but it needs to, well, you need a certain amount of time to understand how to use this Pokemon. Then another really strong Pokemon showcased by Overlord that had fallen a bit down in usage, especially in 5 stacks and competitive usage, but which was still great for solo queuing, was Greninja. Greninja deals quite a lot of damage. Surf is an amazing secure, and also it has amazing team fight potential in the sense that after the opposing team is worn down, you can completely destroy the entire team just by surfing them. Because every single time you get a kill with Surf, your Surf immediately resets, this becomes a very strong tool to completely destroy a team that it was unprepared for Greninja. Greninja has great mobility. It has great damage. Its Unite move is not the best, but it does a good job at repositioning Greninja and dealing damage. And this Pokemon's very hard, even for an attacker, it's very hard to kill due to its high mobility and high damage. Also, remember that its basic attack slowed down the opposing Pokemon, so it's also good for chase downs if the other Pokemon don't have mobility. This Pokemon takes a while to master because you have to master and understand how its basic attack works. So remember that whenever you throw a basic attack as Greninja, you can either throw it from a long range or from a short range. At short range, it would deal massive damage, way more than at long range, and you could peel down objectives or opposing Pokemon, tank your Pokemon that way. The trade-off being that Greninja would have to be there physically in contact with the opposing Pokemon. Meaning that if Greninja became badly positioned, then Greninja would easily be picked off. However, because Greninja has amazing mobility, Greninja could often escape from those types of situations. The only problem with Greninja is that despite its ganks not being terrible, its level 5 ganks, it really becomes strong once it gets Surf at level 7. Greninja is also amazing for securing Zapdos, for example, having probably the third best secure in the game, or second if you think it's better than Aegislash because it's not a Unite move. So this Pokemon takes time to learn how to play, but this Pokemon will reward you immensely if you understand how to play this Pokemon. You can end up getting matches in which you get over 20 kills just because you know how to use Greninja. And if Greninja gets ahead, it stays ahead in the game. So if you win that first gank, you're probably going to be ahead the entire game, and probably you're going to be the reason why the match was won in the first place. A Pokemon similar to Greninja, but that I'm going to put a little higher just because I think it's easier to use, is going to be Cinderace. Cinderace deals crazy damage. Its Blaze ability is very strong. Remember that every single time you use a move, you get a boosted attack. And you also can damage another Pokemon more if it gets the little Cinder on top of it. And you get that Cinder if you keep using your basic attacks on it. Blaze Kick is amazing for stunning and repositioning Cinderace. So you can strategically use Blaze Kick in order to hunt down a Pokemon that has not that much mobility, for example, a Pikachu, or for example, a Duraludon, or for example, even something like Snorlax, because you can peel down these Pokemons quite easily. Cinderace's Unite is nice for stealing, but I wouldn't really recommend it for securing, unless needed. I think it's a very good surprise tool to steal Zapdos, but it's hard to aim, and you cannot really aim it in the midst of chaos. So Cinderace is not very reliable at stealing or securing Zapdos, but it's good. It deals a lot of damage. If you get level 9 before first Dread, then you're probably going to win it because this Pokemon scales quite nicely and is very strong. It's much easier to use in my opinion than Greninja. You can do early ganks with Cinderace, something that I hadn't talked about, but Cinderace and Greninja, in my opinion, are the two best Pokemon for early ganking. Especially Cinderace. I think Cinderace is slightly better than Greninja because Cinderace's Blaze ability and its basic attacks do quite a lot of damage. And you can slow down the opposing Pokemon, you can hunt them down and prevent them from scoring, for example, if they're trying to stack their attack weight or their special attack stacking item. There's no downside to using this Pokemon other than the fact that you have to use it in jungle. Please don't use Cinderace in lane or Greninja, they're just terrible. Cinderace is not as bad as Greninja in my opinion, but still this Pokemon needs jungle, and it's probably going to need jungle moving forward, despite the map change. The next Pokemon I want to talk about in this tier list is a Pokemon that gained a lot of popularity recently, especially during Worlds, in my opinion, and for solo queue, it was seen quite a lot. Is going to be Cramorant. Cramorant became so good because of the emblem system. The emblem system gave it so much mobility with dive because you could constantly spam dive and use Aegislash for recovery. So Cramorant would end up dealing a lot of damage after the game ended. You would often see Cramorants getting into the high almost 100k, or if not, you would see a lot of Cramorants hitting the 100k damage every single game, just because this Pokemon dealt consistent damage. Also, its Unite move is still probably very strong for team fights. You can completely zone out a zone using only your Unite move. Deal quite a lot of damage, and your teammates could pick off the opposing team. It takes some skill to use dive plus Aegislash. I don't think it's quite easy to use at first, but it really doesn't take that long for you to understand how to move around the map with this Pokemon. And this Pokemon has a lot, but really a lot of mobility. It has probably the best mobility in the entire game. You cannot chase down this Pokemon. You cannot run away from this Pokemon. This Pokemon just deals a lot of damage and moves so fast around the map. And for solo queue, this Pokemon can put in a lot of work, and will probably still put in a lot of work despite the nerf. Because even though it was nerfed, this Pokemon is still going to do a lot of damage. So just think about Worlds. In Worlds, the emblem system was non-existent, and it was still used, and it still performed quite amazingly. So yep, Cramorant is and will be and was an amazing pick for solo queue, and probably will still be in the near future. Another Pokemon that's amazing for solo queue, in my opinion, and one of the first strong all-rounders, comparable to Aegislash, but I think Machamp is a little stronger and a little more consistent and easier to use, is going to be, Machamp is going to be the next Pokemon. Machamp is a Pokemon that can stun and deal quite massive damage to any single Pokemon. So if it gets level 5 before 850, you can destroy the opposing jungler. You can destroy a Cinderace, a Greninja, a Glaceon, if you use Dynamic Punch plus your combo and your teammates help you. Dynamic Punch is such an amazing tool to engage in team fights. Close Combat or Cross Chop are both good, in my opinion. Cross Chop is used more for mobility, and with the crit build, Close Combat is a little bit more consistent with damage, and it probably is better for killing a single target. But overall, this Pokemon was amazing. I don't think it's going to be that great now that it got nerfed. We'll have to see how hard the nerf hit Machamp, but overall, this Pokemon was very strong. Its Unite move, if landed correctly, could completely win a team fight on its own. Just Machamp alone. No support, just Machamp. There are quite a lot of clips of Machamps out there just completely destroying unprepared teams during zap fights with its Unite move. Usually, what you would like to do is engage with Dynamic Punch and throw your Unite move immediately after. Well, first you have to throw your Unite move, get into your Unite state, and then use Dynamic Punch, and then throw your Unite move again so that you get the infinite punches. That way, you could destroy any single carry or even an entire team that was unprepared for Machamp, or that didn't see Machamp coming. This Pokemon needs to stack, so it's probably not very good for jungling. even though it's quite strong at level 5. However, there are still better junglers like Cinderace that probably are going to do a better job at jungling, and Machamp is quite dominant in lane, even as a Machop. Karate Chop is great for securing farm. Bulk Up is great for moving around and escaping if you're trying to stack. We'll see how hard this Pokemon got nerfed, probably in a few hours. But at least for last season, it was quite an amazing pick, and you could carry games with it. Another Pokemon that was great for carrying games was Dragonite. Now, Dragonite is all about securing objectives. Hyper Beam was probably the best secured in the entire game. As a Dragonite, you could go directly into the objective, start peeling down the objective, and not having to worry about someone stealing it, because your Hyper Beam is such a strong tool for securing, and this game was all about objective securing. Whether that was Dreadnought or Zapdos, or even Rotom. If you secured Zapdos, you would pretty much win the game, so this is why this Pokemon was the most popular Pokemon during Worlds, because it was all about securing Zapdos. Teamfight-wise, it's not bad. It can do a lot of damage if those Hyper Beams landed nicely. However, this Pokemon was primarily used because of its securing potential. Its Unite move is it's not bad, it's okay. The nice thing about its Unite move is that if you threw it close to Dragonite, then it would only need about half of the time to charge back. Dragonite was amazing for solo queue. You could pretty much do everything by yourself, whether that was team fights, escaping, securing objectives, Dreadnought, Zapdos. You could literally do it all. This Pokemon got nerfed and won't probably see as much play, in my opinion, just because the nerfs seemed kind of harsh. But for at least speaking of last season, this Pokemon was great for solo queue. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. So lastly, the last Pokemon on this tier list is Serena. So Serena, probably the second strongest all-rounder in the entire game. Serena scaled quite nicely. It's a Pokemon that is very hard to take down because of how many shields it gets, because of Queenly Majesty. It has great mobility with Drop Kick. It dealt a lot of damage with Stump. Stump now is nerfed. We'll have to see how hard this nerf hit Serena. But overall, this Pokemon was like Machamp, but in my opinion, more consistent and stronger. The only downside being that you have to get to level 6 to really start putting a lot of work. But with the right lane partner, this is not that hard. During team fights, you could pick off a carry like Cinderace or Greninja just by using your Unite move and killing them very quickly. So for single targeting attacking, this Pokemon is amazing. And also, like I said before, it's quite durable. It's really hard to take down Serena. So as a solo queue player, you could choose this Pokemon, go into lane either top or bottom, and do quite well. The only downside being that this Pokemon is not really that great for securing objectives or even doing objectives, but is great for defending the zone around it. And, well, I mean, Stump can be used for securing, but in my opinion is better for attacking the opposing team. We'll have to see how hard Serena got hit with the new nerfs, but or at least when it came down to the last season, this Pokemon was an amazing carry. And finally, let's talk about probably the strongest Pokemon in this list. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Which is obviously Tyranitar. So, Tyranitar is straight up broken. Tyranitar can 1v5 an entire squad on its own if there's not an opposing Tyranitar in the opposing team. Tyranitar, once it gets level 9, it can chase down, it can run away, it can destroy any other Pokemon. It's so hard to take this Pokemon. You need about 3 to 4 other teammates to take down only this Pokemon. So the only downside being that you have to get level 9, otherwise this Pokemon is dead weight. So it might not seem like the best jungler, but once it gets level 9, trust me, even if the opposing team is 2 levels ahead, this Pokemon's going to put in so much work and start scaling back and shifting the tide of the match. This Pokemon felt like if you didn't have it on your team and the opposing team has it, then there was nothing much to do other than pray that the opposing Tyranitar doesn't know what they are doing. But this Pokemon is also quite easy to use. The only thing you have to know how to use is Ancient Power, and you have to learn that you need to press down the button and continue moving around, which is something I didn't see a lot of Tyranitars do. But despite that, this Pokemon just puts in so much damage, outputs so much damage, carries so many games. You would often see Tyranitars hit the 110k damage, 120k damage, 130k damage every single game, just because how ridiculous this Pokemon is. It got kind of nerfed, but also Ancient Power got buffed, which is weird because Ancient Power was already its best tool. Probably moving on, this Pokemon will still be great. We'll have to see how the changes affected Tyranitar, but overall, I think this Pokemon is insane. And if you saw it during selection screen on the opposing teams, but not in your team, then it was pretty much GG. Like I said, you would only hope that the opposing team doesn't know how to use Tyranitar. So yeah, so that's gonna round up the list for this season. That's gonna be it. It's my final decision on this tier list for solo queue. And moving forward, we'll have to see how this tier list evolve. The map will change, so the macro game specifically will change a lot with it. Tyranitar will probably be strong, but we'll have to see if it's still the strongest Pokemon. And we'll see a lot of meta shifts, so that's going to be exciting. So that's going to be it for today, and I hope I'll be able to upload something tomorrow related to the new map. So stick around for more content and subscribe.